Hello and welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and I'd like to introduce to you our 2019 Norfolk Public Schools Teacher of the Year, Kenyetta Vann of Norview Middle School. Welcome to NPS Now.
Thank you.
I am so proud to introduce you to our community about who Norfolk Public Schools chose as their top Educator of the Year. So tell me, how does it feel to be Norfolk Public Schools Teacher of the Year?
It feels amazing, kind of hard to put in words because very unexpected, but I'm very grateful, honored, and humbled for this opportunity.
Yes, I was there. I was standing behind you on stage, and what was going through your mind when Dr. Boone was reading information about you?
She was reading and I'm like, okay. She started talking, she was saying, that could be anyone, that could be anyone. And then once she started quoting things that I had said, I was just like, oh my God, it's me, it's me. And I was just overwhelmed with, amazement and astonishment.
What was the one word or phrase that she said that you knew without a doubt that was you?
When she stated that my students may never remember anything about science that I've taught them, but they will remember that I cared about them and that I loved them, I just knew it was me. And I was just like, thank you so much.
Yes, it was amazing. You were recognized out of 54 teachers, then it was narrowed down to 11, and then the top 3, which you end up being the Middle School Teacher of the Year. So why do you think that you were picked for this honor?
I think that when it comes to the classroom, I walk in every day with a passion. No matter what's going on in my outside life, different things have happened. When I step into the classroom, my kids never see a different me. They see somebody who's there, who's willing to love them, who's willing to teach them, and who's just willing to be whatever it is that they need that day. Because sometimes they don't need a teacher. Sometimes they need for me to be a mother. I might be their mother that day. So I think that when it comes to things like that, I kind of stand out.
What type of creative lesson plans do you think you do in the classroom?
It gets crazy in my class, but crazy in a good way. Because I want to always make sure that it's engaging and that they have a good time. So one day we might play basketball, with them answering questions, whether it's a test review. We might break off into small groups and let them come up with whatever it is, that the assignment may be. I don't like to do a lot of teacher talk because they get bored. And if they already want to talk, so if I'm giving them more time to talk, then they'll respect me to say, okay, she's giving us time to talk, so let's talk about what we're supposed to be talking about. Instead of just, the whole bell, I'm saying be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. They have more of a sense of liberty when they come into my classroom.
We had an opportunity during the recognition ceremony to see a video clip of you in a classroom, and you were rapping to the kids.
Yeah.
And what was that lesson about?
That lesson was about Newton's laws. So, kids like music, and I say that I'm a rapper on the side, but I'm not really. But I do have a gift, and so I just quickly made up a little rap to just kind of keep them engaged because, one student wants to make a beat, they want to join in. You have to make it fun and engaging because if not, you've already lost them.
Right. So your peers in the school, what do you think you do in your classroom to stand out amongst your peers in the school?
I know I build relationships with my kids. Not saying that they don't, but I really take the time because, it's cliche. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But I really take that to heart, even though people say it as cliche, and I make sure if it takes a week that I build a rapport and a relationship with my kids. And then when I feel that they trust me, I do something called I Wish Ms. Vann Knew. And where they begin to tell me, I tell them it could be as broad as my favorite color is purple to as serious as I don't see my mom at night. Or
Wow.
I've been up all night doing whatever. And so now that they trust me and I see what's going on outside of school, I won't fuss at them for having their head down. Because maybe I understand and know now that you were up all night taking care of a sibling or, doing different things that you had to get done. So I won't be as harsh to say, pick your head up. Why aren't you paying attention? Because if a child is hungry, if they haven't slept all night, they're not going to be learning anyway. And sometimes it just takes 30 minutes to say, hey, you can take a nap. I know that's kind of unconventional, but if I'm fussing at them to keep their head up, they're not going to be paying attention to me anyway. So I try to come into my classroom and treat my kids as if, you know, they're people too, and they have issues, and school is not the only thing that they're dealing with. So I think that's kind of what makes me stand out.
And that's great that you have that type of relationship with your students. So tell us about your teaching background.
Well, I started at Columbus State in Georgia, and I got my bachelor's in chemistry. I love chemistry, and I wanted to become a chemist. So I honestly kind of waited to the last minute to apply to grad school. And my department chair from Columbus State, Dr. Floyd Jackson, got me in at Hampton. So I moved up here to Hampton, and I was in the master's program to get my master's in chemistry. And I met a child, he was 12, couldn't read. I started helping him, and that's where my passion for teaching came in. So one of my professors at Hampton, Dr. Ndip, he told me, he said, I think that you should go to ODU. They have an amazing education program, and I think that it will really help you and benefit you. And so I transferred to ODU. I got my master's in education. When I graduated, didn't have a job. I went to a Norfolk Middle School football game, and I met Mr. Walter Brower.
Wow.
And I just started talking to him about how I just graduated, and I really wanted to start teaching. And I know it was God sent, because he immediately took me under his wing, brought me in as a sub. The next year, I was a full-time teacher.
How long have you been teaching with us?
I've been teaching for 5 years. I've been at Norfolk Middle School the entire time.
That's awesome. You mentioned ODU, and I believe in your application you talked about you were part of their teacher in residence program. How was that?
It's amazing. So right now, my teacher in residence, Amani Parker, she's amazing. It's just awesome to really be able to come into the classroom every day and know that you're shaping and helping somebody to be an amazing educator. I didn't think that I deserved or was ready for it, because I was just a beginning teacher. Even in the mentorship program at Norfolk Middle, you know, we have our head teacher, Ms. Castell, asked me to be a mentor, and I'm like, I'm just a second-year teacher, like. Right. But she told me that day, I saw something in you where I knew that you had the ability to mentor. And then joining with the TIR program at ODU has been amazing. I had a TIR last year, Ms. Gray, who's now at Northside Middle, having an amazing time. I have Ms. Parker now, who's really learning a lot. She's just soaking up the information, and it's awesome to just have that relationship even outside of school, to where she knows that even after she's finished in my classroom this year, she can always come back to me. She can always ask questions, and she knows that I'll be there for her.
And speaking of mentoring, you have a mentoring program right there at Norfolk Middle.
Yes, so I had a student who, I loved him so much, and he made a really bad decision, and it broke my heart. And from that day, I was just like, something has to change. There's more that I can be doing outside of the classroom. So I went to my pastor, Mount Hermon Baptist Church, Pastor Stephen Lewis, and I talked with him about starting a mentor program for boys. I'm not a man, so I can't really teach them how to be a man, but I did have the idea and the vision for it. So he came on board immediately, him as well as 4 other men from my church. We sent out letters to parents to tell them this is what we want to do. And so as of now, we have about 8 boys consistently. They actually just went to Nag's Head this past weekend. They took them on a weekend retreat. The boys didn't have to pay anything, because our church donated all of the money, you know, for them to be able to just go out, have a good time. But the main goal of the program is for them to make better decisions, because I can speak to them all day while they're in school, but once the weekend hits or the summer hits, they have to be able to make decisions on their own. And so the goal is to really foster like these relationships with them. A lot of them don't have father figures in the household, so them being able to come, I've even had parents come to me saying that my son has changed already, and they've only been meeting about 6 or 7 weeks. So right. To know that the program is making a difference already is just amazing.
Well, looks like you love mentoring and teaching.
Yes.
So what do you love most about teaching?
Most about teaching, probably when my students come back to me, not necessarily the ones that I got along with, but the ones who always say, well, Ms. Vann is so hard and she's mean, because some of them do see me as mean, but they don't understand in that moment that what you're calling mean is just me preparing you for the future. Right. So I've had students that's in high school now come back and say, I'm glad that you were hard on me, because now that I'm in high school, I actually have to do the work. I actually have to study. I actually have to, you know, do what it takes so that I can make it to the next grade. For me, the best thing is just them coming back to say how much I've had that impact on their lives, even though they didn't appreciate it then.
Right. So as Teacher of the Year for 2019, what would your message or platform be for the other teachers here in the district?
The main thing that I would say that they should focus on is building that rapport. Because what I've noticed is we talk about like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 kids. And even I teach SPED kids. I have a co-taught class. And for some, they feel like, oh, these kids, they can't pass or won't pass. But what you'll realize is if you actually take the time to establish a relationship with them, they're going to try their best to pass that test for you. Even if they don't care, I have kids who haven't cared about school, but because they respect me so much, they try their best to pass that SOL, and I appreciate that. But it all comes with day one, actually trying to take time to build that relationship with them. When they know that you care about them, because sometimes I have to take time outside of the lesson. Thank God I have a TIR, because I had to pull a student in the hallway last week to talk to him about something that had nothing to do with science. But even in that 5 to 10 minutes of me talking to him, now he knows that, okay, Ms. Vann cares about me. Because this is a student who has been doing his homework all year, then all of a sudden, he just stopped. And now he has 3 zeros in the grade book. Okay, I need to talk to you because that's not like you. So let's figure out what's really going on. And for me taking that time to just talk with him, he's back on it now.
Right.
So when they know that you care about, outside of them making good grades, you actually care about their life, they'll try their hardest for you. So for other teachers, I would say, make sure you build relationship, make sure you build rapport. No, you won't be able to have the best relationship with all of your students because they're all different. But if they at least see that you try, they will appreciate that.
And you have such passion for the profession, and I understand why Norfolk Public Schools chose you as their 2019 Teacher of the Year. Congratulations again to you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming on the show today.
No problem. Thank you.
We want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Setmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. Today in this studio, we have a special guest from Old Dominion University, Ragean Hill. Welcome. And we're here to talk a little bit about NCAA eligibility for our student athletes. So before we get into that, Ragean, tell us a little bit about what you do at Old Dominion, where you're from, so our viewers know.
Okay, I'm the Senior Women Administrator for Old Dominion Athletic Department, so that's the highest ranking female in the athletic department. I oversee our academic student athlete services and student athlete development programming. I also am the Deputy Title IX Coordinator for the athletic department, and I supervise 4 of our teams currently, and then helped with the bringing on of our new volleyball coach, Fred Chow, to the program.
Okay. Well, a lot of responsibilities.
Yes,
so,
a lot of different hats.
We want to talk about, we just had our National Signing Day, and some of our student athletes were able to sign national letter of intent to a university to play a sport. And this is for people down the road, because we have other student athletes that are getting in line for academic and athletic success. So let's briefly talk about eligibility for a high school student to obtain a college scholarship.
So for the Division I level, and that's where we're at Old Dominion, you have to, one, have the 16 core courses. There's a certain amount of courses that will be locked in between the freshman and into the junior year, which are 10 core courses, 7 of them that have to come from the math, science, and reading area, or English. The other 10 can be some of those social science classes, psychology, social studies, just trying to think, Spanish, those type of courses. Those are locked in, and those are your highest GPA classes, so A, Bs. We'll try to lock those in. Once those are locked in, you can't make any changes to those. And then in your senior year, finishing up the remaining 6 core courses, or you may have more than that after your junior year to get that done. So again, it's going to be the 16 core courses, 10 courses that'll get locked into the system, 7 of them coming from math, science, and the reading area, English. And then it has to have the GPA. So 2.3 is our minimum GPA for the NCAA. But again, the higher the GPA, the lower the test score can be, the higher the test score, the lower the GPA can be.
Okay.
And so you have to match up on the sliding scale.
All right, so the important thing here for people to know that when you walk in as a freshman, you need to start taking classes, those core classes, day one.
Correct. It's not, let's just wait till our sophomore or junior year to get started. It's even, I mean, just in academics alone, you can't slack that first year, because what you lock in from that first year could affect you down the road. So it's very important that going into your freshman year, that you're staying up with your grades, that nothing's fallen to the wayside, and then you're also taking the core courses that are necessary. So I always tell parents, you need to be in the room with your student when they're getting ready to sign up for those courses, to make sure that they're going to be on track to have what they need when it's time to graduate.
Okay. So you mentioned test scores, and we have the ACT and the SAT. So from experience, which test should they take? Should they take both?
So I was a former student athlete myself. I ran track in college, but I was not a great ACT taker. So I took the SAT, and I took it as many times as I was afforded to. And that became the test that I took. But I always recommend to families when they come in on recruiting visits, take both tests. You may do better on one than the other, and as an institution, one, we can use both of those tests, figuring out which one's higher, but also the NCAA will use both tests. And you can super score. So the highest marks you get in, let's say you take the SAT twice, the highest reading can be matched with your highest math. And then same with the ACT, there's 4 categories. You take all 4 categories, add them together for your composite sum, and then you get your ACT score, and that can match up.
Okay, so just what kind of range are we looking at? What's the minimal at an SAT, ACT to the obviously the max?
So with the 2-3, you're going to end up in the 930 range, and right now I'm going off the top of my head, but the highest, I mean, you could have a 3.0 and go way down to the bottom scale, about a 700. But again, you have to think about entrance to the university. So you have 2 entities. You have to become a Division I qualifier, but then you also have to be admitted to your institution. So you're tracking both ways. Do I have the sliding scale for the NCAA, but do I also have the admission standards for the institution that I'm going to?
Okay.
And so.
All right. So let's talk about, you're talking GPA. Does a weighted GPA, if a student is taking the AP, the honor courses, how does that assist?
So if a student is enrolled in AP or honors courses, as long as those courses are recognized by the NCAA on their list of approved core courses, then they can be weighted at a higher scale. So if an A for an AP course is 5 points, or on a 4.0 scale at 5, then you can use that. But if the high school does not have that information into the NCAA of their AP courses being weighted higher, then we're taking the true GPA. So 4.0 scale, 4 for an A, 3 for a B, 2 for a C, 1 for a D, and then 0 for an F.
Okay. All right. So I mean, you mentioned the NCAA. At what point during the high school career should an athlete go ahead and begin to complete the eligibility process, and then obviously the institution will be down, their senior year, but how early should that start?
We always tell them at the end or the beginning of their junior year to go ahead and get registered. After that first semester of their junior year, go ahead and send a transcript in, because they can do a preliminary evaluation. So we have that spring semester of their junior year able to look at, as well as their next senior year, to make sure, can we add courses in to help the student athlete get to the 16 core courses. So applying and putting their app in the end of their sophomore year, and then sending a transcript in after that first semester of their junior year.
Okay.
And I would also say start taking the test around that time as well.
All right, that's good information.
Some students, I know counselors will say, well, go take a test and just get a benchmark where you're at. I personally don't recommend that, only because let's say a student goes in and they get an 850, and then they go and take it a second time, and now they get a 1200. That may trigger something with the SAT or the ACT, depending on which test you're taking, and you may have to do another test to prove that the score matches to that higher score that you received. So it's always when you're going in, you need to study for it, you need to be prepared. Don't take it a night after a football game or a basketball game or whatever you got going on, and really go in there and try the first time around. Now it's different if they take it, let's say that 9th grade year, and then they don't take it again until their 11th grade year. We can see learning over time, core courses that they've taken and why that score would go up. But if they're taking their test in their junior year, and let's say they take it in August, and they just go in and take that test, and then they go back in May, and they take it after studying and everything else, and there's a huge jump, that's too short of a time. So we need to make sure that we're giving them the right information.
Right. So you mentioned, I mean, Old Dominion's Division I. There are other levels, Division II, Division III, and there's even the junior college level, and we see a lot of our student athletes going that route. And I know you work Division I, but if you could briefly touch some differences on II and III and even the JUCO level.
So for Division II, it's going to be the 2.0 sliding scale to the highest test score you can receive. And again, it's basically Division II rules or the old Division I rules. They're always, in a sense, one step behind. Still the 16 core courses, but there's nothing being locked in that regard. The junior college route, that's going to be harder for a student to come out of that. Typically, we want 3 consecutive semesters at the junior college that they're attending, and a lot of times they will dance around or go from junior college to junior college. Having worked in the SEC before, it has to be 3 consecutive semesters at the same institution if they want to transfer into an SEC school. Big 12, you can bounce around and do that. In Conference USA, you can bounce around and have different, but you have to make sure you're 3 consecutive terms full time.
Okay.
I should say it that way. And then you have to have a 2.5 GPA. You have to have your transferable math, 2 transferable English, a science with a lab. We can only count 2 PE credit, and then 48 transferable, or at least hit the 40% for whatever degree you're going into. So you see there's a lot of different things you have to do, whereas high school, get the GPA and meet the sliding scale, get admitted into your institution. So I always tell them, if you can do it right the first time, that's going to fare better for you. But I understand there are some students that are not recruited right away out of high school and they have to go the junior college route, but they have to understand there's still expectations at that level in order to get to the Division I. Now, if you're a qualifier and you go the junior college route and you have your 12 hours per that semester, it makes it easier. You just still have to have that 2.5 GPA and have those transfers come in, transferable hours come in, but you don't have that full criteria if you're a non-qualifier. What I listed was for all non-qualifiers.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about the recruiting process. And a lot of times we see today, hey, my 7th grader was offered a scholarship to whatever school. How true is that, and does it happen? And what should parents think about that?
You're not seeing it as often anymore, just because our recruiting rules have changed a bit and how late we're able to go after students, or our coaches can have contact with recruits and everything else. My thing is, until you sign on that dotted line that you're officially signed into the institution, because coaches could leave also.
Sure.
You have a 7th grader and you're waiting all the way till their senior year to go on their official signing day. That coach may already be at another institution, and the school does not have to validate that scholarship, especially if nothing has been signed at that moment. So I always tell parents, just be a little cautious. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And really, when they get to their junior and senior year, that's when you're going to know when that signing period is going to come. We have the early one, which is in December, and then we have the true one, which is in February, which is the first Wednesday of February of the new year.
Okay. So for parents and students, where should they go to obtain this information now?
Yes, they can go to the NCAA Eligibility Center. That's where they can log in for everything. They have tools for them to click into so they can even grade themselves where they're at GPA-wise, what they would need for a test score. So all that information is at the NCAA eligibility center.com, and they can sign up, get everything that they need. That's where we push students to as well, to make sure if we're not available and they are in the 9th or 10th grade and they just need information before they get started for their high school years, that's where they can go to get all that info.
Okay. Well, Ragean, a lot of good information. We could talk a long time about recruiting and NCAA. So appreciate you coming down here, and we look forward to seeing you out and around the schools. Maybe.
Great, yes,
Right.
Happy to.
More NPS Now after this.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I have two very special guests with me here today. We have Rudy Escobar and Latoya Highsmith, school counselors for the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, to talk about Junior University. Welcome to you both to NPS Now.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you. He's a pro, so you'll learn a lot from him. He's been on the show many a times, and we're here talking about a great summer program. So Rudy, tell us, what is Junior University?
Well, Junior University, or JU, is their summer enrichment program for academically talented middle school students. There's an emphasis on critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, but the main component, because it's associated with the school counseling office, is college and career readiness. And it's almost like a jump start to getting the middle school kids prepared for their honors and AP courses that they're going to be taking in high school.
So how long have you been involved with Junior University?
I'm a veteran, 11 years. 11 years.
So he's a pro, and he comes on the show all the time.
Time.
So you lucked up today. But I have this question for you. When and where is it being held this summer?
So JU this summer is being held at Norview Middle School, which of course is located at 6325 Sewers Point Road. The program runs for 4 weeks. It starts June 24th, runs through Thursday, July 18th, and it is a Monday through Thursday program. The hours are 8:30 to 12:55 for students. Yes.
What type of activities, Rudy, are these students going to be doing?
Well, it varies from year to year. There's always a math and writing component. And then one of the things that I like about the program is there's a college and career readiness component. And in years past, they've tried to teach the kids an effective and most efficient way of using the internet in their college search, but also how to use social media in a college search. And then there's the science component as well.
Really engaging. So what's a typical day going to look like for our students, Latoya?
So when the students arrive, breakfast will be offered, so they will have breakfast. As Rudy mentioned earlier, science, math, English, and college and career readiness courses will be offered. So the students will rotate among those 4 courses. Lunch will also be offered, and they'll also be offered a field trip to a college during the summer also. So, but that's what their typical day would look like.
College, career, and exposure.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
Rudy, tell me, you've been doing this for a while.
Yes,
How do students typically react or respond, or how do they enjoy this particular program?
Well, most of the students are college bound anyway, so they're already thinking about their future. So the thing that I noticed most over the years is that they liked meeting new kids from other schools. They make a connection. They're doing small group projects. They're just getting to know each other. There's a lot of icebreaker activities. It's not a lot of seat work. There's a lot of hands-on type stuff, and they're actually using real-life scenarios to solve real-world problems.
Oh, that's interesting. So, how much does it cost, Latoya, for students to go?
The tuition for Norfolk Public Schools students and residents is $175 for the program. But the good thing about the program too is offered to not just our students, but also students that might be residents of Norfolk, but maybe homeschool or private school. And their tuition fee is $275 for the program. And then we also offer outside of the district. So parents have the options that have rising 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. If they want to also apply to the program, the tuition for those students is $285.
Right, and I guess, Ruth, I'll ask you this question, Latoya, too. I know Camp Einstein offers a scholarship. Do we do that with us here, too? And if someone wanted to sponsor a child or make a donation, how could they do that?
So in the past, we have offered scholarships. Each school would be designated a certain amount. However, unfortunately, due to budget cuts both locally and federally, we're not offering scholarships at the moment. However, we are accepting money. So if anyone wants to donate money for scholarship reasons, they can contact the school counseling and guidance department here at the central office.
Great. Rudy, tell us, why should students want to come to Junior University?
Well, because it's not seat work. It's not summer school. You know, immediately when kids think about a summer program, they think about, oh no, summer school, and I don't want to do that. I've already spent 10 months in school. It's a lot of hands-on type activities, a lot of bonding with other students, you know, their peers, just out-of-the-box type thinking. You know, so, and it just kind of appeals to the middle school students, very engaging lessons, you know, and stuff that they may be interested in.
How do students, I mean teachers, feel about working with these students and participating in this program?
Well, in the past, the teachers loved it. You know, they absolutely loved it, especially at the end when they do the evaluations. Like, the kids are very engaged. They're motivated. They're motivated, even though it is a summer program. It's only half a day during the summer and only 4 days a week. So it's not going to take up too much of their summer vacation.
But it's engaging them.
Yeah, it's very
fun,
engaging. Yes.
And the idea that students from other districts could come and participate too.
Yes.
So yeah, as coordinator this year, what are you looking most forward to out of Junior University?
Well, I think I'm most looking forward to just a challenge overall. So this will be my first summer doing it. But also meeting new teachers from around the district, and definitely meeting new students that I've never met before, and just looking and learning how the program works. I have my pro.
Oh yes.
My pro here that has been assisting me along the way, and I know he'll be there for me even throughout the summer. But I'm just looking forward to being a successful program as it has been in the past, and also looking to grow the program so that we can increase the enrollment of our students, you know, and increase the diversity, not just NPS, but also outside of NPS.
Exactly. So Rudy, being this pro after 11 years, what do you look forward to most out of this program this year?
Well, I'm actually anxious to see how LaToya takes this program to another level. You know, she's already excited about it. She's thinking about field trip ideas, different ways to take a spin on English and math, you know, how to make it more engaging to the kids. And she's a great leader. So I think she's going to do wonderful things with the program.
Oh, great. And hopefully the parents at home are watching this show and want to know what's happening. So just recap real quick for us when it is and how they can get an application and apply and information.
So Junior University, again, is being offered this summer at Norview Middle School. The first day of enrollment is Monday, June 24th. It's Monday through Thursday. The last day will be July 18th. Students will attend 8:30 to 12:55, and parents can obtain applications from their students on their child's school counselor. If not, they can definitely give me a call over at ADL. My number is 628-2477, and they can also email me, lhighsmith@nps.k12.
What's the deadline to apply?
The deadline to apply is June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you both for coming on the show today to talk about Junior University.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS, Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you're having a great story ideas or events happening at your school, email us at npsnews@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.